what are the symptoms, and what, from your view, from your studies, what exactly is Morgellons disease?
My view of Morgellons is basically the result of industrialization. The list of symptoms is extremely long. It's almost similar to like a fungal overload, pathogenic overload, and there's so many related symptoms. Some of the more prominent ones being the body actually growing these fibrils or hairs, the body producing artifacts of some kind, whether they're some people, I've even met a couple of people that are producing plant-like material growing out of their skin. There's actually these non-earthling type of insects being come out of their body. I mean, unbelievable stories that I would never have believed it unless I was standing in their house witnessing this. Hexagons. I mean, on our website, Morgellons Research Group.com, there's probably 1,000 pictures that you can see. They're real. It's unbelievable. It's like the science fiction channel come to life.
Absolutely, I agree with you. You know, as well, but there are many components to this. Now, why do you think, why do you think that this is such a big cover-up? I mean, the Morgellons was reported 20-some-odd years ago. According to Dr. Caroline Carter, she says it shouldn't even be called Morgellons disease. It should be called GMOD, which would stand for Genetically Modified Organism Disease. What do you have to say about that?
I am totally aligned with that.
You are. Well, she is testing via hair samples. She's testing in the country of Cyprus 8 out of 10 people, and doesn't matter the age group, by the way, little children all the way up to the elderly. 8 out of 10 are testing positive for Morgellons disease. What's going on?
What's going on? That's a good question, because actually there's a lot of patented data that I have found, and people like to share when they find or declassified information that used to be classified. I have a report from 2004 that talked about the nano and micro technologies of unmanned, basically smart dust, which are smaller than microscopical particles, that some of the components of that smart dust are showing up in people's body, coming out through these little black specks and showing up in some of the fibers. And so you tell me what's going on. I think it's madness, but the body is responding by trying to push the stuff out through the skin or whatever, and it's affecting our genetic expression, it's affecting people's health, and it's horrifying, especially when you have this.
But silver iodide and dry ice nuclei are Stone Age technologies compared to today's higher-tech particle payloads. The most amazing of these belong to a family of weather mod devices that are so small you might not see one, even if it was floating in your eye. Ranging from the ultra-tiny to the nearly invisible, these are the revolutionary micro-machines that will be the workhorses of any world weather control system. They're MEMS, micro-electromechanical sensors.
It's January 7th on a Friday in Phoenix, and our skies are pretty blue today. Just a few weird looking cloud type things in the sky. So I thought I'd check for the particulates and fibers that might possibly be raining out of the sky after 2 days of a whiteout situation. We were chemtrailed to the high heavens the last few days, and I see things floating through the air everywhere, and we're out breathing them, thinking it's a clear blue day and the air is clean. There's all these things flying through the air. It's not raining out. but there is stuff in my pool. And there is no raindrops hitting the flagstone around the pool. Nothing. There is no raindrops on the ground, but there are raindrops in the pool. What? And there's shiny raindrops, and I'm on the telephone, so I'm sorry, but I had to get a picture of this. Alright, bye.
Okay guys, this is a weather report because it's been like 80 degrees here, really unseasonably warm. I'm at 8,000 feet in the Colorado Rocky Mountains, and I've been noticing weird snow when we do have a little, and this stuff takes the cake right now. I mean, it's like snow fiber. Look at this crap. I mean, you can see it. This is how it's falling. It's not like freezing once it hits the ground. It's falling like this. There's no snowflakes. They're like snow fibers or crystals or whatever. But they're not like... There's a couple of snowflakes I can see. I mean, you can see a couple maybe. But most of this crap is this fiber-ish looking disturbing stuff. And, yeah, it's bizarre. Doesn't look right to me, personally. So here's just outside a little. You can see it's in this whole crap. It's made of it. Yeah. I can see it falling on my shirt this way, look. You can see it before it dissolves. It's lined. There's fiber, snow falling on me. Look at my shirt here. See that? What the hell, guys? I've never seen fibers falling out of the sky, or snow that looks like fiber. It's really disturbing. Anyway, this is what it looks like here. We're getting fiber snow, and it's really just a haze in the air that looks, that comes down as snow. So, can't see a thing. Hope everybody's doing okay. It's 29 degrees here, and yeah, it's the first day we've had snow in a long time.
I could definitely feel it's probably very difficult for somebody who doesn't suffer from Morgellons, but a constant flow of electricity going through my body. It's like this is basically Morgellons, at least in part, is an invasion of human tissues by nanotechnology, and I can feel these wires under my skin. I can feel the pulsation energy, or let's say the electricity going through. So I react very strongly to any electromagnetic frequency, or so I can relate to what Marie said, that she feels that when she's near to a refrigerator or any kind of electric device. Regarding
the thing I really want people to hear, and I didn't have scientific validation until recently, that what I believe to be true is in fact true, and that is Morgellons is not a disease. That is the great red herring that they've asked us all to swallow, that there's this disease out there and there's a segment of the population involved, but that most everybody else is good to go. And that's certainly not true. And when I wrote my paper for Arizona Skywatch in 2009, I tried to get that point across by calling it a syndrome. And the reason I say that it's not a disease, that's not to mean that people aren't suffering, and that's not to mean that these things aren't happening. Of course they are. But the reason I say it's not a disease, because we think of a disease as a pathogen that gets into us, measles, mumps, whatever, a single pathogen that is classified as a disease with a certain amount of symptomology to it, and that's that. And that's not what we're seeing here at all. We're seeing multiple materials in the human body that work symbiotically together, synergistically, that are being delivered to us through the air supply, and when the body recognizes, and it's strong enough, mind, body, and spirit, to say this doesn't belong, it begins to try to push it out. Now that's all these fibers, these pseudo-life forms, which is a really better, much more accurate description than fiber. These heavy metals, these crystalline polymers, this fungus, all of these things that work together, they don't belong in our bodies. And the bodies have the wisdom and the strength, and may I say the spirit, to shove it out. Very painful, very unsightly, very difficult process. And so my goal, once I sort of clicked onto that's what was happening, of course with the help of many brilliant, I'm just a dot connector, really. But I work with, I call the above ground, underground, a lot of very brilliant minds in the scientific, in the research community, microbiologists, hematologists, all these wonderful people who share with me what they know and understand, physicists and all kinds of folks. So when I began to see that there was a match between what was coming out of these sores and what was being delivered through the air, and then I have a research doctor who has access to an atomic microscope who was able to observe live blood, on a very, 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 very small scale, and could see that this fungus was actually collecting these toxic metals, which we know, aluminum, barium, and the whole 9 yards that are being delivered to us as well, and using them as weapons against our immune system. Big bells went off for me, and I began to realize that this was a very, I hate to give it over, brilliant system that was being laid into our bodies piecemeal, and I'm not sure where it all started. I don't believe it just started with the chemtrails. I believe you can follow it all the way back to some inoculations post-World War II and a lot of other things, food. But be that as it may, it's not a disease, guys.
Hey, that's great.
Too. Is there a connection between Morgellons disease and chemtrails? Dr. Will Spencer, I'll let you take that one.
I would say there is, because some of the components that we're finding, the artifacts coming out of people's bodies, are being detected in the air. So, at pretty high altitudes actually, and so that would lead me to believe there is a connection, as well as not only the components, the fibers and the metals that are coming out of people's bodies are in people's bodies, but also these exotic or new lab-created microorganisms, genetically altered ones, are showing up in people's bodies as well as in the atmosphere. So, it would only lead me to believe that there is a direct connection.
Right.
For example, last week I have I have pain in my head every day, like headache, but this day was a different kind of headache, and I felt like I was throwing up, but I didn't, but that kind of feeling. And then there was a lot of plane who I could see that in the Swedish chemtrails website, that they said, today they're spraying a lot. So I really believe it, and well, now I'm thinking after.
There are chemtrails everywhere all the time.
Correct, and they could have other chemicals in it. But one key that what I'm calling the smart dust, where smart dust is a very, very small particle at nano size that has a specific function. This looks like, if you look at certain times of the day and you see dust, but it's not dust, it's like an iridescent glitter. Very specifically different than regular household dust.
Yeah. And this would be in areas where...
We have seen that. Doctor, I got one of those 10 million watt spotlights. You go out at night and point it up to the sky, and you can't believe what's floating in the air. I mean, it's really disgusting.
Right, and if you're seeing this iridescence, which looks just like glitter, that is engineered dust or smart dust type material versus regular household dust, or that does not reflect back.
So here comes the conspiracy theory. If Morgellons or Morgellons is related to chemtrails and it's coming out of the spray from airplanes, is there some grand plan to get this stuff into human beings?
Well, I don't know if it was a plan or anything, but I will say that all of us have been exposed, all animals, all life forms on this planet. It's just a matter of what our genetic makeup is, what we have been chemically poisoned with as an industry, meaning working in industry versus living in certain polluted areas, that is allowing this to manifest more rapidly in individuals than ourselves.
Because when everything happens to me, then there was so much dust in my home, and I didn't understand. I think, oh, it's my boys who from the socks or something, because the dust come all the time, and I was afraid of this dust in the air, and I think, of course, there is something mixed with everything, with food, with chemtrails. I think there is a big connection with everything.
And also what really, it has, really definitely destroyed my life. I cannot work anymore. Money-wise, it has been a down-going spiral. Also, I've lost a lot of friends. I had a very, very active social life before. When the psychologist said, well, the mother's obviously gotten really crazy now because she believes it could be linked to some kind of nanotechnology in her body or coming out of her body, I said, okay, well, if everybody thinks I'm crazy, why don't we ask somebody really qualified? And I got in touch with this medical research journalist, Desiree Röver, and I said, well, Desiree, what do you think? According to you, what is Morgellons? And the answer that came back was saying, well, according to me, first of all, she made it very clear that there was a link to chemtrails. And secondly, she said, according to me, it's a kind of test or testing on certain people in view of transhumanism and the creation of artificial intelligence. And this kind of answer, her research basically was also put in the court files. And obviously ignored for the reasons that you have pointed out very correctly, I believe.
Melanie had mentioned before the break this transhumanizing. Whoa, that's a big word. What does that mean?
Altering our being, our human, transforming the human being. There is a free video on YouTube. If you just type in transhumanism, I forget the name now, but there's a gal named Sophia that did a great presentation. It's about an hour long last year. And she explains it, and there's actually several scientists on YouTube that will gladly explain that. And it's a science fiction. They're trying to improve the human.
Well, and let me ask you, Marie, has this been an improvement?
It felt. I think when I have now heard about this and read little. Because in the beginning I always said to everybody when I try to explain how I feel, it feels like I am a snake who will change the skin. I feel I have the second skin over me. It's not me. It's like I have have a mask all over me, and even when I look at my skin and look at my face, I didn't recognize me. That was not my hand, not my skin. In 2 years, I think, I have this feeling before I try to get rid of this not human being skin.
These is.
Well, picture things coming out of your body and put yourself into a spot to even comprehend that for one are not natural, for two hurt, have lots of pain, and for three is when you go to a medical practitioner in allopathic medicine, the only thing that they have for you is to label you delusional, when in fact you're producing these things. So you want to talk about traumatic emotional experience when you're telling somebody that's supposed to be a caregiver or a provider, which is really the, I don't even want to go down the negative side of that, but they're supposed to do a job, you expect them to do a job, and they're telling you that you're delusional and this ain't real.
Right. Okay, and thank you for saying that, because isn't it interesting that that's all the medical field is referring to it as, is something, that the patient is delusional. And that's, you use the word maddening. I think that is over the top.
It's a recent turn of events, but
yeah.
I guess that's to be expected.
Not a surprise, unfortunately.
I have a segment on my website that if people want to look at later, it's called Bad Hair Day, and they'll see what the hairs look like. They'll see the hair follicle of the hair bulb, with blue fibers growing out of the bulb after I pull the hair out.
Can you tell which hair to pull out?
Yeah, because usually those hairs are thicker, and I can see that there's a goo coating on them. The goo coating comes above the skin line, and so I can see it, and it makes the hair look thicker because it's coated.
Do you get the goo coating on your skin too, or is it just something on the hair? In other words, would you get a gooey portion, not gooey, but slimy?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do to some extent, but not as much as the hair. There must be something in the actual hair follicle, and I have pictures of it. There's chemicals that go there, plus each hair follicle has its own capillary. So there's something about that is very attractive.
Go ahead, Cliff.
Yeah, absolutely. This relationship, Jeff, with hair is, as I said before, one of the keys to understanding this particular creation, if you will. And both Jan and I think we go on the record as saying that what you can find in those hair follicles will set you back on your heels. And then almost all Morgies will relate more or less the same thing. You will find in and around those hairs and within those hairs all kinds of Morgellons manifestations.
Wow.
In some cases, the hair bulb and the hair root is so extended and so covered with a white sebum sheath that it's 5 to 6, maybe even 7 times its normal size. And when you pull it out, it comes out without, the nerves are dead. You don't feel anything.
Jan, these pictures they're stunning, staggering. They're so different. Each and every one of them has something to say, so to speak, in terms of an expression of something foreign and weird that should not be in the human body like this. But of course the CDC says, don't worry, it's all in your imagination.
That very odd picture that has like veins running through it and almost a pattern, somebody said it looked like a fractal almost, but this is a piece of tissue from the same lady that had the letters, that had the numbers on the tissue.
Now that is, I don't even know what to do to start to talk about that. The idea that the first pictures show that lesion covering, that crusty lesion covering peeled off, and there are clearly numbers in it. What the hell is that all about?
I don't know, but since I have had that, someone else contacted me and sent me 4 copies of a video of something in his bathtub, which he was taking a picture of, that looked like a fish, but when he got very close with his lens, he was reading numbers on it, and he actually sent me the video, and you can't read the numbers that well, but he actually read the numbers from the thing, and it was MMMLOQNCFZ. Then there was a 6-digit number that he wasn't sure of, and then it said 23 parentheses U-bot and RAM.
23 what, dear? One more time.
It was 23, and there's one parenthesis that goes the other way, and it says U-bot and RAM. Y-U-B-O-T and RAM.
Got it.
That's pretty funky.
This is such. See, that's why we've been covering this story with, thank goodness for Jan and Cliff, for years and years. This is such a huge issue. This is a gigantic story that no one will touch. Not anymore, not up to the CDC dirt, because the mainstream media will now say, if they're pressured, well, it's already been taken care of. We don't have nothing else to do.
One of the things I've noticed with the mainstream media is not only did they read the report from Kaiser, but they expounded upon it, and actually the way they were wording it almost seemed very disdainful of the people that have this disease.
Oh, absolutely. I picked that up too. Yep. Putting them down,
Well, I
mocking
mean,
them.
they went out of their way to make it even more so. I mean, we know whose payroll those people are on, and they all belong to the Committee on Foreign Relations, so,
Damn
you know.
right. Yep, absolutely. By the way, I invite all of you to please go to morgellonsexposed.com. This is Jan Smith's site. Just scroll down the page. Look at the pictures. These are real. This is nothing that has been faked in any way, shape, or form for you newcomers. These are actual items that Jan has pulled out of her body and that
I
others
have them on
sent her.
slides. If anybody wanted to ever take them to a real lab and test them, they could DNA them or do whatever they want. I have nothing to hide. And
We know that no lab is going to want to touch these. Basically, they'll lose their grant, they'll be kicked out, they'll be shut down. Who knows what will happen to them?
True.
Going down, there's a...
Clear with that little image. Come here, mate. Let me show you something. Have you got a sec? Put your hand in front of the sun and look at spider webs falling down. This is spider webs. Do you know a spider? No. Just look at that, it's incredible. Here we are at my usual spot. I've got the camera set up nicely this time. I'm actually having a fair degree of success today catching the bastards falling out of the sky. You can certainly see it all over the grass again today. It's absolutely coated. You can't really get better than that, if you like that sort of thing, I guess. There it is. Spider webs, chem webs, coating the fucking grass. As usual, same place, same bat channel, same bat weather. Unbelievable. There you go, look at that. Look at those chem webs. I mean, they're enormous. Can you see them? Chem webs all over the grass, everywhere. Today is the July the 7th, 2012. Carlton did a fantastic job demolishing Collingwood last night, 12 goals 13 to 8 goals 14. Once again, fantastic effort, Carlton. And go West Coast. But look at the chem webs. Seriously, folks, this is unbelievable. This shit is everywhere. There's not a whisper of air blowing at the second. And you can see it all over the grass everywhere. You can see it wafting above the grass. I'll zoom in on it. You see this shit? Spiderwebs, yeah, sure. Ballooning spiders. I don't think so. I've looked at it. I understand. Spiders balloon when there's the right conditions. You've got to have lifting air currents, as in air that seems to be lifting up. And the spiders, little tiny spiders, let out a strand of web, and when the wind's blowing, they let go and they fly up into the air. The last 2 to 3 days we've had a massive high, 134 hectopascals, and there's not been a breath of wind for the last 2 to 3 days. And what have we got right now? We've got no wind whatsoever, 3rd day in a row, and yeah, here we are, watching all this shit falling out of the sky. Now how can that be? The spiders haven't had the wind they need to get off the ground. Look at it. I mean, look at this stuff. We're not talking about a few spiders if that's the case, we're talking about millions of them. This isn't just happening in Hoppers Crossing Werribee, this is happening everywhere. These spider webs that I'm looking in front of me here are 30, 40, 50 metres long. They're stretching, well, some of them are probably more than that, they're enormous. You can see it just wafting everywhere. Look at it. I'm going to walk out there whilst the video is running, and you can see how big these spider webs are whilst I run out there. I'm going to have to hold on to the camera, try and show you the chem webs on my hands here, because it's nearly impossible. Just a minute. Can you see it? It's the finest of fine webs all over the bloody ground, and I mean that is 40-50 metres away that I ran, 60 metres maybe, and you can even see the path where I ran. Have a look. Okay, let me just get this set up again. See the path that my feet left as I ran out there? Yeah, see it? That line right in the middle of the screen where my feet ran through the grass and ripped up all the chem webs in that one spot. Look at it, that's me, that's where I ran through. Hey? This shit is falling every day. You can see it when the sun's out. You can see it when there's no wind blowing it around, so it's not wafting around. It's everywhere.
In addition to the symptoms already discussed, more advanced stages of the infestation are said to result in nano-cameras being found in the eyes, limbs actually moving uncontrollably, one seeing strange colored lights in one's vision, and in some cases, death. Frankly, as long as the different aspects of the transhumanist agenda continue to occur, and as long as the true culprits are not held responsible for their actions, there is only so much we can do to mitigate the harmful effects of the ongoing attack on our bodies and this earth. But that does not mean give up. Although the situation is overwhelming, we are not completely fucked. Stay tuned to Potent News for more information that will focus on what we can do to help our bodies rid this infestation as much as possible. For now, I will point you all in the direction of Gwen Scott, Will Spencer, and Ken Rolla. Each of these people have done some very inspiring work in this area. I'm Amir Alwani from PotentNews.com. Thank you for watching, and I hope you had a fucking blast.